look, I've done anything, you know. I talked to God, I've sang in church, I've preached at a church, I've drag raced, I've done this, I've done that, I've done all the fun boy stuff. Done every bit of it. No way that this is going to get me. Lemonade picks me up, puts me on a stretcher. The headland on paramedics get me to the hospital. I've later found out that means I was on palliative care at medical center. And hospice had been called, and I was being taken care of now by hospice. And there's someone approaches me from my right side again, and he comes up on my right side, and he's standing there, and this person has on like a...
You're going to heaven if you pass away. That's the kind of friend you want right there.
Absolutely.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Shepherd Station. This is me being enthusiastic again so that Andy and Thomas don't get on my butt.
He don't want us to take over the intro.
They need to take over the intro.
It makes it sound like we're like these
You guys are monsters, slave drivers.
Yeah.
No, I don't want them to take over my intro because I like doing it, even though I screw it up a lot. But hey, we're at the Stockyard, 24 East Church Street in Headland, Alabama. Come by and see us. We've got the Stockyard Suites open now. Come by and see us. It's right next door. Some of the best... we'll call them fat pills that you'll ever put in your mouth. I mean, you know, we're not going to
eat in a day.
Yeah, I eat a lot of them a day. It's really hard because she calls me back to the kitchen all the time. I need you to test this.
Has she gotten started doing the cookies thicker now?
Oh yeah,
she did.
They're bigger. They're bigger now, and they're so good.
Gosh,
so good. There's cookies, cupcakes, brownies. What we call a brookie, which is if our chocolate chip cookie and our brownie had a baby.
Yeah, which is just
so.
Evil. I guess your six pack's not showing anymore.
No, man, I ain't had a six pack in
ever.
I got a keg. You know, it's just straight flat. You know, I ain't got no six pack. But great food, great stuff to. I mean, it's really good. Good desserts. Come by and see us. We still got our coffees. We still got all our things that everybody's come to love. So come by and see us. Today with me again is Andy. We got him back. You know, he wasn't on vacation. You know, he says he was working. I don't believe it. You're in Orlando, Florida. You can be on a conference or whatever. You're on a workcation. So I'm gonna give you a hard time about that. No, Andy's been doing a lot of stuff, especially with the position that he holds right now and the most recent natural disaster that took place. And our prayers are with everybody that has affected. And Andy is, he works for First Guard, which also employs a lot of the security that goes to take care of some of these places, because even under natural disasters where you think people would come together, a lot of times people go to exploit that. And that's what First Guard's out there to help stop. You know, they're trying to take care of that. So he's been really busy, but he's taking time out of his day to be back with us because he is part of us and part of this team, and we are glad that he is back. Got Thomas over here. We got a good guest in the studio today. Thomas has a quick announcement he wants to throw in there real quick.
Yeah, so
we're excited.
Yeah, we have our first sponsor, so that's really cool. Cutthroat Club is the name of it, and what it is it's wet shaving. So or straight razors. They sell all the products for that kind of stuff, and so if you use our link, which is cutthroatclub.com/the shepherd, you will get 10% off whatever you order, your whole order. So check them out, cutthroatclub.com. They have awesome stuff. They've got entire kits. So it's like for beginners that want to start with razors, or they got like beyond that as well. Really quality stuff, premium stuff. So check it out, cutthroatclub.com/the shepherd. You can get a 10% discount. We're really excited to be partnering.
You'll have that link on all our stuff.
Yeah, it'll be all over everything. You'll see it, whenever.
Check them out. I'm going to check them out and start using their products. I really think that that's somebody we need to be supporting. I love the name of it. We're really excited.
Yeah. So. Thomas, let us know how that beginner kit works out.
Yeah, this is about a month, I think, of not shaving right here. Yeah, so I was just joking with
Hey, listen,
Eric. He didn't catch the joke, but I said, I think I'm going to order some too. I think I'm going to get some and try it out too.
Oh, yeah. Well, listen, I can't say much to you. We've all talked about the whole beard thing. Andy can grow like this massive, huge, woolly mountain man beard.
And he can sneeze and he'll have a full beard.
Yeah, that's right. It takes me a while. So. But it's a good thing because my wife doesn't like, all the facial hair.
No.
There you go.
There you go.
All right.
Yeah. If your wife doesn't like facial hair, cutthroatclub.com/.
There you go. Oh, this is going to be interesting today. All right. We have a really good guest today. He goes by Scotty B. Many of you watching or listening may know him. He's well known around Henry County and Houston County. We actually went to school together. He was a year ahead of me. We both graduated from Dothan High, and his story is really, really powerful. God has blessed him with another day because he shouldn't be here right now. And before we even started this show, he made the statement. He said, I'm not supposed to be here. And I said, no, I have to argue that with everything that you went through and as close as you were to knocking on that door, actually close as you were to walking through that door, really. Mm-hmm. You are supposed to be here because God has got a purpose for him, and he has brought him here to us today, and we want to share his story, and we want him to share it for us. So without further ado, Scott Blankenship. How you doing?
Good, you? They do. Thank you for the intro. And a lot of people do call me Scotty B. Some call me Scott Blankenship.
What's your mama call you when she's mad at you?
Well, better yet, what does your wife call you when she's mad at you?
There you go.
Boy, I've been blessed with a good mom and a great wife. So let me get that in first.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Now tell us what you really think.
I always tell everyone, the first thing I have to introduce is my wife, and she's Carrie Blankenship. And if I don't get that out of the way, then I have to buy a dress when I get home.
Well, sorry, Carrie, you're not getting a dress today.
Yeah. A lot of people do call me Scotty B, and that goes back from, he said, Houston and Henry County. I grew up, I had a unique childhood. I grew up in Dothan. All my family was farmers except my dad. My dad left and become a teacher, and then they made the paper mill, and he went to work at the paper mill over Cedar Springs. And so I grew up in Dothan, and so we were in Dothan all week long, and then I had a great uncle that would pick me up and carry me to the farm every Friday night. So I grew up doing a lot of boy stuff,
What was your uncle's name?
Mike Blankenship.
Okay.
We had a bunch of land up there in the Bertha community. Anyone know where the Bertha community is up there?
Yeah.
And me and all the boys from Dothan High, we all went there every weekend. We'd go up there and deer hunt and all. So
there's a few deer up there.
They are.
One or two.
There's a few less, but they're breeding every day. So this whole Dothan High crowd that what I grew up in there. I grew up in Ford Country in Dothan, and so in Ford Country, I come through the Southside Baptist Church. And
What street in Ford Country?
Thunderbird Drive.
Thunderbird. I grew up on Headstrom Drive.
That's right.
At the very end, right at the last house by the circle there, where all the woods. Back then, there was nothing but woods there. Across the circle, across Headstrom Drive, it was like being in the country back then. Whenever I was growing up, I was right there. Used to walk through there. Go with my Thunderbird. Used to with Grandview. I'd either walk or ride my bicycle to Grandview School.
You caught a murderer over there somewhere near there, didn't you? That Crime Chronicles story.
Story's only right in front of our house there. Mm-hmm. Yep.
My first house that I bought, I was like 18 years old. Little house. It was right across from what's that apartment complex right there?
Alexander Court.
Alexander Court. It was right across the street from Alexander Court. So my first house I bought was in Ford Country. So.
Well, there was a lot of history there growing up. Thanks for the memories there. It brought back a whole bunch of stuff. We had forts. We used to ride our bikes, and we play in the creek down there, and all that. Had a bicycle stole one time, and But police found it. Dad come home with a John Deere bicycle. Where in the world do you find a yellow John Deere bicycle with a blue banana seat? That's what I had to ride.
Yeah.
So that's all the childhood. But then I spent the weekends and the other time up there with my grandparents and my uncles and all farming. And, I would learn how to farm, but I learned a lot about life, watching my grandparents. And then I learned a lot from my mom and dad also. And when I say that just a background history on religion, so we're all, kind of in our 50s and all there. And in the early 80s, there was a big movement by Billy Graham and all of those big evangelists. They were filling up football stadiums and everything. And all the young kids, I was saved at the age of 12. and went to Smyrna Baptist Church down there with a bunch of boys. Jose Parker was our
I saw Jose eating lunch over in Slocum a few weeks ago. Jose's oldest son, Andy, and me, we graduated together, went to school together, and he had two twin brothers there. But Jose, was a police officer at one time with my daddy at Dothan PD, and then he left. He did a few years in law enforcement and all, but Jose Parker's a fine man.
Yep. He led me to Christ, and he baptized me and everything else and all. So, but that was my religion in Dothan, and there was a whole bunch of us boys at Smyrna. I mean, the Patterson boys, there was a whole bunch of boys. Kerry Godwin, but on the weekends that I was at my grandparents' home, my grandmother went to a little Assembly of God church on a dirt road up there, which our family actually built it. Now I know our family, the Cooks on her side of the family, built this church. And they built the walls, but no roof. So, that church was up there for a long time with no roof. But there was a lot of Jesus in that church. Okay?
Oh, wow.
A lot of Jesus. I remember one time the whole congregation would meet in the church, and then when it got time to sing, everybody would get out of their pews and go sit in the pews behind the podium up there, and they were the choir, so the church was the choir. And I remember one time there was a lady, she was 98 years old, she was trying to get out, go to the restroom, and her heel broke. And they went all laying hands on her. Her ankles swole up just immediately, and they went laying hands.
Oh, wait, not the heel on her shoe, her actual heel broke.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
They went to the heel on her shoe broke, and then her heel on her ankle.
Yeah.
And all,
it caused the injury.
It caused the injury, but it swole up. It was huge. And those old ladies, they anointed her with oil. And I'm tenderhearted, okay?
Yeah.
So there's a lot to this story.
So are
and
we.
They went to praying for her right there, and that older lady, she got up and she danced a jig with 98 years old. She had one heel on, and she went down this side of the church, back through the middle, down these aisles over here, and was back in singing here in a few minutes. So
there you go.
There was a lot of Jesus, a lot of miracles up there.
You were sitting there going, "This ain't the Baptist church."
I don't know what Brother Jose would say about this that's going on right now,
Yeah.
So
that's funny.
So, but then back in Dothan, great place to be. Me and those boys, we figured it out, man. We had it all figured out. We could sit on that back row every Sunday morning. We could do boy stuff. I say boy stuff. We could, girls, drinking, cars, football, everything on Friday night, everything on Saturday night. As long as we had our butts in church on Sunday morning and prayed and asked for forgiveness of our sins, we were going to be okay. At the Assembly of God church up there, it was grandmama hitting you on the head the whole time, dragging you up there and dragging you around, and you got to do right, And I say all of that to, we grow up, and my best friend from college was from Gainesville, Florida. He played football at PK Young, and he was a quarterback down there, and he meant a lot to me through college, and me and him kind of did boy stuff through then, and we hung out at Bertha all the time. My parents were still in Dothan, and we grew up in the woods and all hunting, and fast forward on to now, life goes on 20, 30 years later. I do a lot of stuff growing up. Followed John Pitchford around on a bunch of runs, and
John. I've seen John running up and down 95 a few times up north of Columbia.
There's no telling where you're going to see John running. Bless his heart, he walks a lot now. Age is getting a lot of us, so you'll see him all over Headland. He's liable to walk by this window right now if he's not picking up peanuts. But he's probably picking peanuts. But so he's done Ironman a couple times, and I followed him. I did Ironman, and I run my first marathon for the Leukemia Society at Disney World. You were talking about it. And I've done several marathons. I've done Ironman, several triathlons, several half Ironmans. And with Michael Hawley, I've done CrossFit competitions. And with a Marine boy up the road here from Newville that works Tri-Delta up the road, me and him did this competition. So that leads me to a lot to say that I had a lot of fun growing up. I did a lot of fun things, and I've seen a lot of stuff. And I've met a lot of people, important people, and is everybody. and everyone I've met. And there's a lot of people that had influence on me. And then my wife, Carrie, her and her family's meant a lot to me. And, you know, so I'm going along and I'm working with the Kellys over here. I run a retail fertilizer plant, and I farm some too. And I don't know, we got to the point where I was getting sick, and everyone I knew that was around me, you know, could tell I was getting sick, and I wouldn't accept the fact I was getting sick. So we turned that big age of 50, and you see on TV and everything, you know, men turn 50, you got to get your colonoscopy and this, that, and the other. So Dr. Crockett was my physician. I went to him, and he come back. He said, your liver numbers are elevated. And I said, yeah. He said, well, you know, you need to slow down some. You know, I know what you do, and I know the running and stuff you do. And he said, so take these multivitamins, come back and see me in a month. And then he gave me this testosterone rub, you know, to rub it on your shoulders. So we go through that a month. I come back, and he does it again, you know. I go another month. I come back, and I'm swelling now, you know. My stomach's like out here. And I asked him, I said, what about the swelling? So he gives me these pills to help you urinate, you know. Come back and see me in a month. Stay on your multivitamins. And I've had 2 days to make a month. And this one morning I woke up. I was walking around the house. My wife was still in bed, and our closet was over here, and there was a door. And I went in the closet getting ready for work that morning. And I don't care how many triathlons, Ironman, or anything you did. When you have to, 50 years of age, I'm laying on my back in the floor just to put my socks on. I couldn't. I was so swole up. And I got my boots on. I put my boots on. I couldn't even tie them. They were open. I went to work that morning, you know, pretending like wasn't nothing wrong. And I made it to about 11 o'clock that day, and I went to my boss, Patrick Kelly, and I said, I can't do this no more. I don't know, I can't do it. So his neighbor in Dothan was Dr. Black down there at Digestive Health. He called him. He said, bring him, this is a Thursday. He said, bring him down here to the medical center, and we'll pump this fluid off of him. He'll feel better. We go down there Patrick carries me on Thursday afternoon. My wife meets us over there, and she's, you know, they're trying to figure everything out.
So the whole time, you're like blowing up like a balloon.
Yeah.
And these doctors are like, we'll give them some multivitamins, or we'll pump this fluid off of them and it'll be okay.
Come back
like,
and see me in a month.
Yeah, like that's kind of crazy to me that they're like, let's just deal with the symptoms real quick, and then, you know.
Did they ever figure out what was causing it?
Okay, I've got a great story. I have answers for both of your
questions. That's what
I'm
like, why are these doctors just like...
Well, okay, we could say the coulda, shoulda, woulda stuff.
Yeah,
okay,
that's true.
I should have probably been referred to a specialist before I finally decided I can't go no more. Okay, a lot of that was my decision, and I think a lot of people around me were waiting for me to get to that point or die, one or the other.
No.
You know, I mean, my mom would come to work, and I knew something was wrong when my mom showed up at work. You know,
so were you like a stubborn person, like, hey, I'm going to fight this. I'm not going to let anybody know what's going on with me, and I'm just going to deal with it.
Yeah. So if my wife answers that question, that'd be a different answer from me. but yeah, I say I was stubborn. I was like any other man.
Yeah.
Man, look, I've done anything, you know. I talked to God. I've sang in church. I've preached at a church. I've done Ironman. I've done CrossFit. I'm telling you, I've done all this stuff. I've drag raced. I've done this. I've done that. I've done all the fun boy stuff. Done every bit of it. No way that this is going to get me. And it had me laying in the floor, putting my socks on. Yes, I probably should have been referred to a specialist before then, but it was also, think and remember, this is 3 years later. COVID was big. And you had to go into the doctor wrapped up and these masks on.
So this was during COVID.
Yes, and then they didn't want to refer everybody to everybody because no one knew exactly the outcome of what was going to happen with COVID.
Well, that actually makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
Why the doctors would be like, okay, we just got to take care of you. We got a lot of things going on right now. I got you.
Yeah, there was so much going on. and all, and a lot led to this. I'd never say anybody did anything wrong with my health other than Scott, you know, because Scott didn't have to drink them beers to have a good time, okay? And look, I was good at Ironman. I was good at drag racing. I was good at all this other stuff. And beer, I was good at drinking beer too. I never had a drinking problem unless I ever went to drinking. Then I tried to drink everyone that was there.
Yeah,
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And because you had to be first. Try to
No
be
second
first.
place winner.
Yeah, that's right. I'd have a statement for that again too, but so here we are. We're down there, and Dr. Black. I visit him for the first time. He's standing in my room the next morning at 5 a.m. He's standing there over me, and I wake up, and they haven't done anything yet because they didn't have an anesthesiologist on board that night to take the fluid out. So he told me that he had to go on vacation, but they would come in a little bit, and they'd take some fluid off of me, and I'd feel better. They call it parasitology or something. The medical people will get us correct in a minute.
They'll comment in.
Tell us what you think it is.
Paracentesis.
Yeah.
Okay. So they went and they put a needle in here, and the girl, she pulled 11.7 liters of fluid off of me. And
That's a lot.
That is a lot.
Wow.
So, man, I felt like $1 million. All this pressure's off all of my organs, and I feel good.
Yeah.
So we're laying in bed, and they said, you know, you're going to have to wait a day or two. We don't know what's going on. So they start drawing my blood every morning at 3 o'clock. The medical center, they
wake you up.
Yeah, they wake you up at 3 and do your blood. And then the doctors come in, and they change your vitamins up to try and fix what's going on. And I told you guys that I run a fertilizer house, and David Pitcher met me one day like the day before, and he said, "What's wrong with you?" I said, "I don't know, but if it was a field, I need a little bit of lime, I need a little bit of fertilizer." I mean, but you know, it's not a field. And so we lay there a couple of days. 2 days go by, and they said, "We're going to pump you off one more time, but we don't need to keep doing this and all on because you'll get addicted to it." So they go in, they do a second hole, and they pull off 9.8 liters of fluid 2 days later.
You get addicted to them taking the fluid out of you? Is that what you said?
That's what one of the nurses said.
Not really physically, but his body would get addicted
Okay.
to
Yeah,
it.
because
and not,
you feel
And
so
not
much
take care of
better.
it itself.
Yeah, you feel so much better.
Yeah.
And then your body thinks that something else is
That
fixing
makes
the
sense.
problem.
now he's talking about 11 and 10, 11 liters of fluid. Think about a 2-liter Coke bottle.
That's what I. No,
you're
that's
talking about.
literally
You're
what I
talking
thought.
about 4 or 5 2-liter Coke bottles.
That's
how much
a
fluid
lot.
that actually is.
That is a lot of liquid.
Yeah.
So 2 days later, again, I'm begging them. Now I'm hurting.
Yeah.
I'm begging them to do it, and they said we won't do it. And
So
man,
this is after the second time they did
yeah.
it.
So 2 days. So they draw fluid off of me 3 days, 3 times in 5 days. This last time they get 4.7 liters. So that gives somebody do the math: 11.7 and 9.8 and 4.7.
Like 24.
Yeah.
So that's a dozen 2-liter Coke bottles. In 5 days, they pull the fluid off of it. All right, so we feel better now. I'm in the room. John's calling me out all the time. My wife is there with me the whole time. She has to work. She works there at Weikert there in Dothan. And she's at work. So I walk around the halls up there on the 5th floor or whatever they had me on. I'm doing air squats by the bed. One nurse walks in. I'm sitting in there doing push-ups. And she said, "Oh, my God, he's fell." And I said, no. She said, "You got to get back in that bed now. You got to get in that bed." And all. And so, you know, I'm trying to be healthy and stay healthy and active because I know that you have to keep moving. And some time goes on here, and then we meet one of the nicest lady. Dr. Black was gone. We meet everybody else that works with him, but there was a lady that worked, Dana Scott's her name. She was his assistant, and she took care of us the whole time. She'd come in there every day. What can I do? And she would try to line up stuff. And this whole time that she knew our liver was going out. And she was contacting, she knew a bunch of people at UAB, and she was reaching out to UAB, you know, we need to get you to UAB, we need to get you to UAB. And they keep trying and no response or whatever. So we're at the medical center there for about a month. And I feel so much better at this time. I remember there was 2 doctors.
You've been in the hospital for a month.
Yeah, two male doctors and a female doctor in the room. And I conned them into letting me go home. And I called my wife. It was like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. She said, I'm picking up some food. I'll be up there in just a minute. And all. I said, well, they said I could go home. She said, do what? I said, yeah, they said I could go home. Well, okay. I said, yeah, I'm going to be fine, you know, and come get me. And we're getting out of here. So we did. They let me go home, which her and my mother, and she had already tried. She had ordered a hospital bed, and they had cleared out. My neighbors, Steve Blankenship, and them come over. They had cleared out the den, but the bed hadn't made it yet. So they had me.
Hold on, let me ask a question, because I remember what you sent me and watching. What was the? I mean, had they told you were that bad at that point that you needed to?
No,
not at that point.
No.
Had they already talked to your wife about anything?
No,
no, not yet.
They had talked to her more than what I knew. You know, they hadn't told me how bad it was, and you know, I think that's one reason she was surprised when I said, you know, they said I could go home. And
they had I listened to your story. They basically had you dead when you went to the ER, right? The first day. And
well,
said he's in bad shape.
They said he's in bad shape. Obvious, pulling that much fluid off of you wasn't good for nobody.
Right. Well, usually when you go to bloating like that, there's a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, your body's going into some sort of.
So that, I guess that's my question, because I remember listening to what you sent, and she was. It seems like she had a little more knowledge about what was going on than you did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, she knew way more than what I knew. And she told me, but when she told me, I didn't listen.
So, Scott, earlier I asked you, are you stubborn? And you said, you know, I don't really, but everything you're saying to me
sounds like stubborn.
Yeah.
Sounds like you kind of wanted to do what you wanted to do.
Well, I thought I was going to get better.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like talking to John Pitchford on the phone. Yeah, I just did 50 air squats, you know, and I'm gonna beat this. I'm gonna beat this. And so we go home. The next morning, we go to Dr. Black's office in a wheelchair. We go back to the house that night, and that night, I go to leaking. Those 3 holes out my side is when I go to leaking. Mm-hmm. And my wife and my mother, they changed my clothes 4 times during the night. I filled up I soaked 4 clothes and messed up the couch. We had to just get rid of the couch.
Wow.
The stuff was running out of me.
Yeah.
And I became very combative and like swinging at both of them and this, that, and the other. And they have to call the police. And Lemonade was here with Headland Police.
Chris Watson.
He's a cousin of mine. And I know this after the fact. So this is more of my wife's testimony, not mine. I lived it. I had to be it, okay? Mm-hmm. All right, so Lemonade picks me up, puts me on a stretcher. The Headland paramedics get me to the hospital. There, they strip me down. I'm on a stainless steel table, and I have both wrists attached to the table, both ankles attached to the table. And they're
so are you delirious at this point? Is that why
I don't
you're
even. Yep.
You don't remember any of that, do you?
I don't remember it.
She tells you all this stuff.
She's telling me this stuff. So they're pumping me full of this fluid, and I'm regurgitating it. I just turn my head to the side, and I regurgitate onto the floor and this, that, and the other. And the ER doctor at the medical center at that time told her, said, I need to speak with you. Come outside. And as she was going out the door, she slipped and fell in the vomit. Oh. And they go in the hallway, and the ER doctor says, look here, he's not going to make it. We have 3 choices. He can die here in the ER tonight, or we can get a bed for him upstairs, or you can take him home. She said, well, we have a bed coming for the house and all, but we're just not prepared for him at the house at that time. She says, while she was speaking with him, she said, I hollered and threw up again. And she said, well, you're killing him right there. You're not going to keep doing what you're doing to him there, and I'm not ready for him at the house. They said, well, good, we'll put him in a room upstairs, and we'll start him on morphine. She said, no, he doesn't take pain medicine. He doesn't take pain medicine. He doesn't like pain medicine. And he said, well, we need to sedate him and all. And what had happened is my sodium and potassium had, because everything was leaking out of me, my sodium and potassium had went to like nothing. And that messed my mind up, and that's why I was combative. So she said, well, you can start him on some medicine, but not morphine. That's the highest one. Don't put him on morphine. And so they put me in a room, and surprisingly, I wake up the next morning. They had me on these vitamins, and they fixed all this. I wake up, I'm fine again, but I'm laying in the hospital bed. I can't hardly move, but I'm in the hospital bed. And this was Labor Day 3 years ago. And all of a sudden, these people start coming in, and they said that since COVID, they were going to let people come visit me, and they said they'd let 40 people come visit me. I talked later on, there was 40 of them. They ended up, the 49th one was a great friend, Arnie Forrester.
Known Arnie for a long time.
Arnie come in, and it was that afternoon, and Arnie come in there, and he sat down and he talked with me and my wife and my mother. I know my nephew was there, and he prayed with all of us, and he spent about 40 minutes there. Said he was going to pick up his wife and his daughter, and they were going out to eat for Labor Day. And they were all at work, and he was going to pick them up. And he asked us if we believed in Jesus, and he asked us, if I died right now, if I knew where I was going to be as soon as I died. I said, yes, I'm going to heaven. I know I'm going to heaven. And he prayed for us, and I know I talked to Bubba at Carlton. Bubba called me, and I used to do a lot of runs with him, but I couldn't catch Bubba. Bubba was he was gone. But anyway, they said go, and you never saw Bubba again unless you finished. He was standing at the finish line. But Bubba said that he was number 69 in line downstairs. But they cut the people off because of COVID. They wouldn't let nobody in. Wow. And this was a big inspiration that, all these people are coming to see me. What's going on here, And as I told you what my wife's experience was in her testimony, I didn't know that part of it at the time. Mm-hmm. So that night, I fall asleep that afternoon after Arnie prays with us and the family, makes sure that
take your time.
Arnie Forrester's the kind of friend you want, ain't he?
Yeah.
Right there. Somebody that cares enough and loves you enough that's going to ask you if your soul is saved and Jesus is the Lord of your life and that you're going to heaven if you pass away. That's the kind of friend you want right there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Excuse
me. You're going to have me crying.
I know. Excuse me, but it's amazing that he sat there and asked, do you know you're going to heaven? Do you know where you're going? Yeah. The rest of that story for me, I'll bring it back up. But so we wake up the next morning, and all these people have been to see me. I wake up, and my wife's gone, and Preston Shipes is sitting next to me. And Preston's sitting here, and I talked to him for a minute, and this doctor walks in and looks at the chart at the foot of the bed, and he stands there, and he turns around, and he's walking back to the door. It's funny to me because I saw so many of them, and they always walk toward the door with their hands stuck out for the doorknob. Yeah. They're always backing away from them.
They're already ready to get out.
Yeah, let me get out of here. And also I asked him, I said, hey, Doc, I want to get my blood checked. Well, I have to back up to the most amazing story, but let me back up. I got hung up on Arnie. But that night I went to sleep. I woke up about 10 o'clock, and Eric Blankenship was in the room. He's my cousin, and
I was wondering if you were related to
I want
him.
to interject here, and
Yeah.
I don't mean to be offensive or anything, but if I did not know your last name and I just met you and walked in here and saw you and got talking to you today,
see Eric
I would know
Blankenship.
you were Eric Blankenship's kinfolks, okay? I don't.
Yeah.
There's no way
I don't
around
mean
it.
that ugly, okay?
There's definite
But
resemblance.
definitely you can. That's for sure.
Eric's not this sexy, but
Exactly. I'll have to agree. I agree with you.
He thinks he is, but
We'll have to make sure Eric hears this one.
oh, he will.
oh, he will. He'll hear
The
it.
funny thing about Eric is you said he appeared in your room. He has this way of doing that. That joker will just show up anywhere.
At 10 o'clock.
I mean, just anywhere. So
But, and it was during COVID.
Yeah.
And all these people have visited me there during the day, and I got hung up on Arnie and this special place for Arnie. Eric, I wake up and Eric's standing here on this side of my bed. I didn't have and I don't have social media, but there's a lot of people that wanted to keep up with how I was doing. Mm-hmm. There was so many people that were praying for me. I had no idea. Mm-hmm. I was on every bulletin at every church around here.
Prayer list.
And prayer list
Yeah, I remember
everywhere.
We were praying for you.
Yep,
you
and
were all
everywhere.
over my social media because it was popping up. Pray for Scotty B.
Yeah. And then I had there's a great friend of mine over here. I live by him, and he's an air traffic controller with the Air Force, and he did something other, and it blasted to all the air bases around the world. There's people praying for me around the world. There was missionaries praying. But that goes back to my grandmother also. She prayed every night. She prayed about everything. She had a bench in her bedroom. How many people nowadays have a prayer bench in their bedroom?
Right.
And she prayed every night. And them boys that I grew up with, they went cell phones, and all my uncle and all of them, they'd go party every night, Friday night and all. And she'd get in there. I'd go to sleep at 12, 13 years of age, and they're 18 to 20. I'd go to sleep. She'd be praying for them to get home, and all. And they'd finally come in, and then they were whipping them the next morning, and we were all back in the field, So
She has a direct line to God. I can see that.
She very much does. That Assembly of God church up there, and I'm just saying that church up there, Good Tidings Church, there's a connection there some way, somewhere, and it was the older people in that church, and they believed thoroughly in Jesus Christ. And Eric was there at my bedside and checking on me, and he would go back home and post on social media, and that's how people were keeping up with me and praying and this, that, and the other through his social media. And I dozed back off. He was standing there talking to my wife. I wake up. No, I don't wake up. I kind of come to, and there's someone that approaches me from my right side again, and he comes up on my right side, and he's standing there. And this person has on like a sheet or like a hoodie, and all I could see was this hair and the tip of a nose. And the person come there, and I was laying in the bed, and they stuck their hands out like this over my stomach, my abdomen, and behind that person was a dark tunnel. And it was nothing but prayers. I could hear my grandmother and those old ladies, speaking in tongues and all that old church.
If the goosebumps are not, for those listening, not kind of raising up on your arms right now, they should.
Wow.
And all I could hear in this dark tunnel was, I'm still tender-hearted, but all I could hear was, "Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus."
Wow.
Yeah, wow.
It was just repeated over and over. The person never looked at me, never acknowledged me, and all of a sudden that person drew their hands back, and you could just feel the warmth and all over my stomach. And they turned away from me, and they started walking into that dark tunnel, going away. And the prayers, I just hear the voices, ladies' voices, mainly I could hear, "Thank you, Jesus, thank you, Jesus," and prayers. I woke up then, and I was looking around the room, and my wife was laying in the chair over there, and I said, "Call Eric. Where's Eric at? Eric was just here. Where's Eric at?" And she said, "He's gone. He's gone home." I said, "Well, call him." And I want to get my blood work checked, they were just praying for me right here. I'm going to be well. I'm going to be fine and all. But it had to be Eric. It was somebody, and she said she sent Eric a message. You know, it was midnight. She said, "Baby, I'm going to call him. It's midnight." She said, "I sent him a message. He didn't answer. He's asleep." You know. I said, he's a sheriff. He don't sleep. And all, but call him, you know. And anyway, so she satisfied my mind long enough, I fell right back asleep. That's when I wake up the next morning and Preston's sitting beside me. And the doctor walks in, he looks at the chart, and he turns around and walks off, and I say, "Hey, Doc, I want to get my blood work checked." He stopped and turned around, and he started turning back, you know, and I said, "I want to get my blood work checked." And he turned around and looked at me. He said, "Why do you want to do that?" I said, "Well, normally 3 o'clock every morning, y'all check my blood, and we change up the vitamins for the day and see if we can't get better. I'm gonna be better." He said, "Well, normally for somebody in your position, we don't do that." My wife told me, but I didn't know. But at this time, there was for you people at the medical center, there was a sign on the door and it said popsicle. And I've later found out that means I was on palliative care at medical center, and hospice had been called, and I was being taken care of now by hospice. I was no longer a patient of the hospital. I was hospice patient. And I tell everybody, you know, they don't call them for trial runs. They kind of know what they're doing. You know, and also that doc, he said, well, we don't do that for people in your position. I said, "Well, I want to get my blood checked." And he turned around to walk off, and then Preston leaned up in that chair. He said, he wants to get his blood checked. He may have threw an adjective in there, I don't know. But that doc looked at me, and Preston sitting there, and he turned and went out of the room. And here in a few minutes, there was this older nurse lady, wonderful person. She come in that door. She was about this tall. She looked at big old Preston over, and she said, "Why are you sitting here?" "Well, his wife's gone get a bath and all. I'm going to sit here with him." "No, you're not. Get out of here. You got to get out." And she kicked big old Preston out of the room. And so I'm laying here again wondering, like, "Oh, God, what have I done?" You know, I feel like I've been arrested or something, left by myself. And all. I didn't know what was happening. I didn't understand and know really that I was on hospice care and this is it and all, you know. And then my wife gets there and you know, we talked to Derek Wright and the Holmans for a second on the phone, but Derek was trying to figure out where I was going to be buried at, and we couldn't come up with that idea. I had never had to think that out, really, you know. Yeah. And we were talking with Tom Chestnut to do the preaching at the funeral, and so we're there planning my funeral, and I'm sitting there trying to tell these folks that I'm going to be better.
Yeah, that's great, but I need my blood work checked.
Yeah, but
you guys are trying to put me in the ground, and I'm telling you, I'm walking out of here. You know,
You're about to bury me alive.
What's the problem?
Yeah. I don't know what that doctor did, but he went back and said something. At that point, when he said something other, they did come check my blood later that day. He said something other, and I became a patient. When they checked my blood again, I become a patient of the hospital again. I wasn't on hospice care. I was a patient again, just because of that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're a patient of the hospital, and my wife's there. We're planning the funeral. Dana Scott comes in. She says, "I'm going back to work. I'm going to step on some toes. I'm on, you know." So this was Monday, the holiday. This was Tuesday that this happened. Wednesday, Dana comes in about 8:30 that morning. She says, "I have good news. Dr. Cannon from UAB has reached out, said he has one bed available, and it's during COVID, and we're not taking no new patients, but there's one bed available, but he thinks he can fix you." And my wife's so happy and all, and she said, "We going to Birmingham." And I said, "Well, Birmingham's a nice town. I like Birmingham, you know. I mean, but, you know, if
not under these circumstances,
you know, and I didn't grasp the whole thing, really. I didn't know what God was doing. And so here we go to Birmingham. They put a pint of blood in me. I figured it may be a helicopter or something other, but they put me in Pilcher's ambulance, and we take off at 6:30 that night going to Birmingham. And there was Mr. Kennedy, never will forget him, from Columbia, that rode back there and with me the whole time. And we talked the whole time. we get there, and then they said, "Is this Mr. Blankenship?" And these 3 girls said yes, and they threw me on this other cot, and we were going to ask them about my wife. They said somebody will take care of her. And at 12:30 that night at UAB, they were running tests on me, and I was whipped. We went through test and test and test. I woke up the next day. There's a girl, wonderful girl from Arkansas. I never will forget, and she was physical therapy, and she had put a toilet beside my bed, and she had me getting up in there doing my air squats again. And this time I couldn't. I did about 3 of them, and she had me just where I could sit on that air toilet and stand up, and stand up, and all. And we get to going through with all of that, and time goes on from there.
Keep going.
Okay, time goes on from that, and we're doing the air squats and everything, or try to. And this guy comes walking in a little bit later, and he says, "Let's walk for me." And I said, "Walk for you? I can't walk. This lady, she just whipped me up real bad, and all that." I said, "I can't do it." And he said, "Well, I'd like for you to walk for me." And I said, and I was laying crossways of the bed. I was so tired, and so I started to get up. And I said, "Man, I'm tired." He said, "Well, I'd like for you to walk for me." And I said, "Well, give me my slippers over there." And I said, "They're not paying money for second place, you know. I have to try to be first and everything." I get up. Not only he wants me to walk to the door. We go to the door, out the door. And we go all the way around the top hall in there, and we get back to the room. And I later find out that was Dr. Cannon. I later find out again that he was putting me through a test to see if I was going to be able to stand up to what he was fixing to put me through. You know, and so they keep doing tests and keep doing tests, and that was Wednesday. This was Thursday. Now I needed to have the colonoscopy, and you have to have it to get on the transplant list. Okay. Dr. Cannon also said that we have a liver coming. It was going to have hepatitis. That just meant extra medicine the rest of your life. Right. We believe that this will work. So
what did they say? What was actually wrong with your liver?
Okay, so
you need a new one?
At this time, he didn't really say. You know, he didn't really say. Before we went out, I'll tell you this. I said, "Doc, you think 50 years of good, clean living got me to this point? Or, you know, it wasn't nothing to run 5 miles, slam." Jerry Armstrong was a friend of mine. He's dead too. And he taught me something other. You could run 5 miles, slam 4 ibuprofens, and drink a couple beers and run 5 more. You know, I mean, that wasn't a good thing to be doing.
No, it's not.
It's not. For all you people that want to try that, that's not good. Don't try this at home. But you know, I said, was it ibuprofen? Was it taking the Ivomec when I had the COVID? Was it because of having COVID? Because I had gotten sick like everybody else with the COVID. You know, what was it? And Dr. Cannon said, "Well, you know, we can cut you up, send you to all the different departments in this hospital, and we can all meet in about 2 months, and we can decide exactly what it is, or I can fix the problem." I said, "I'm with you, Doc. Fix the problem."
Let's fix the problem.
Okay.
Fine with me.
So we drinking the stuff to have the colonoscopy, and then I go to spitting up some blood. And this was like midnight on that Thursday night or so. They come running in there. They said, "We're not worried about it." Then I start throwing up blood, and I fill up 4 of them green bags full of blood.
Now we're starting to worry about it.
Yeah. Now I remember at this moment they were pushing me out of that room. They were pushing me out of the room, and none of them know what to do. And my wife was sitting in a chair over there. And I looked at her, she was crying, and we were looking eye to eye, and I never will forget the look on her face. And I looked at her, I said, I don't know now I don't know what's going to happen. Yeah. I don't know what's going to happen. Come back in, and somehow or another, wake up again later, and they have put 4 rubber bands in my throat. through them going in and looking at my stomach and all that, and through all the throwing up, I ripped my esophagus in 4 places. They fixed that, so we trying the colonoscopy again. And we finally, Dr. McGuire up there at UAB gave me the colonoscopy. I know we'll forget. And me and him are friends now, but we weren't friends then because they couldn't knock me out to do it.
Right.
Because he said that we can't, if this anesthesia puts you out and the liver gets here and you can't, then, you know, we can't have them conflicting.
Yeah.
So that wasn't fun.
Yeah.
No.
We'll leave it at that.
That wasn't fun. There's some poor little nurse guy right there. I had him by the collar up there. I was pulling him down. I said, "You got to give me some drugs, man."
Oh my God. I changed my mind about the pain meds.
Oh my God.
So we get back to the room, and this is a Friday night, you know, and we get to Saturday morning. I remember Alabama and Florida was playing football that day. And Dr. Cannon had told us Friday, he said, wait till the weekend. It's kind of like Oregon harvest season, you know, weekends are.
Yeah. More crashes.
Yeah. And God bless what I'm going to tell you, somebody had a wreck. Dr. Cannon called to the room or come to the room at 11:57 on Saturday night. And more or less said there was an accident on the interstate. And we have the perfect liver for you. This guy was this person, I don't know, male, female, I don't know. This person was a transplant donor, you know, and we're going to be able to get their heart and their lungs and all, and the liver will be the last thing we take out. But it's the perfect liver for you. It's the perfect shape. It's the perfect size. It's the perfect weight. No disease, no hepatitis. Everything about it's perfect for your body. It's even the perfect color for your body. He said, "What do you think?" And I said, "Make it happen, Captain." You know? So, and God bless that somebody give up their life. I want everyone to know that somebody give their life for me to be here. Again. And so we go on through with the surgery, and I wake up. I remember I wake up, and they always ask me, people nowadays ask, "Did you see a light?" And I saw a light. It was like this one. It was bright in my face, and I couldn't move none of my body. And there was 2 ladies there. One was talking about her boyfriend. One was talking about her husband. And you wonder if people can lay in the bed and hear you.
They can.
Yeah.
I laid there and listened to their whole conversation. And I couldn't move an inch on my body and all. And she was talking about her husband, and she was talking about her boyfriend, and I finally dozed back off. I wake up again, and one of them standing there beside me, and I could hear one walking around at a distance, and I moved my right finger just a grunt. And she said, he moved his finger. The other lady, I hear her walking, coming to us, and said, did he move? And I said, I didn't say nothing. You know, she said, "Yes, she did." He said, So they picked my head up and they start unwrapping me, and they take this gauze off of my eyes, and there's a big light in my face, you know. So they said, "Run, get his wife. Go get his wife." And Carrie came in the room, and I remember looking over at her, and I could see her, and she was standing there. And I said, "Did we make it?" She said, "Yeah, you made it, baby." And bam, back asleep.
Yeah.
Have the transplant. We finally come through that. And I'm going to tell you guys that I know you all are police people and all, and thank you for what you do. There's a lot of people prayed for me, and there's a lot of people worked on me. There's some ladies up there at UAB that they have a direct line to Jesus Christ. I don't care, male, female, what you are. If you're laying there and you can't move, and somebody comes in every morning to wash you, just to bathe you and to listen to stories and to tell you stories, those are special people, man. And we finally come through it, but now we're on dialysis and all. To tell you also, I need to say about Tom Chestnut that go back to the preaching and all, and the laying the hands on Tom. before the surgery, I was hurting so bad on my right side right here. And my wife called Tom Chestnut, and she had him on speaker right there. And we were talking to Tom. He said, "Where's it hurt at?" I said, "It's my lower abdomen on my side right here." He said, "Well, put your hand on it." And I laid my hand on it, and he went to praying. And that pain was so bad, I didn't think I could make it. And he went to praying, and that thing went away. Mm-hmm. It never come back.
Wow.
So both kidneys have failed. I had complete kidney failure. Both kidneys have failed, and my liver was at 5 to 10%. So now we have the liver transplant. Dr. Cannon says, thank you. Dr. Cannon says
I'm probably going to need him here in a minute.
Dr. Cannon says that he said about 3 to 4 weeks, I think I can get your kidneys back working since we put a new liver in, because the liver's like the quarterback, on the football field, and he's telling all the other organs what to be doing. And so we come through this, and days in the hospital, we're doing dialysis 3 days a week, 4 hours a day there in Birmingham. Birmingham's real good. They had me out of the hospital there as soon as I could get out, and they had me in a motel next to the hospital because they want to get you in, get you well, and get you out, and all. It's pretty amazing. And Dr. Cannon and his team, and there's special people up there. And Dr. Q was my kidney doctor, and he kept check on all of that stuff. And there between week 3 and week 4, I finally one afternoon I go to urinating. And that was one of the best feelings, and I mean it was good, and they took me off of dialysis after that, and I'm here today 3 years later, transplant survivor, and I want to tell everybody that I've learned 2 things for sure: that 1, there is a God; 2, it's not me. And I don't know how you feel about transplants and donating your organs, but if you can donate because God doesn't need them in heaven. Right. They're needed here. God doesn't need them in heaven. God got a plan for us all when we get to heaven. Yeah. Our organs are needed here. Yeah.
He's going to create us a new body.
Yeah, absolutely.
You give it a new body.
Yeah. Yep. I'm an organ donor. I believe in it 100%. Now, if I fell dead today, I would definitely want somebody else to have my organs that could carry on their life. Now, did you say earlier that they had you a liver to start with, and it was hepatitis in it? Yeah. So, I mean, that's God working again right there. Right. Instead of taking that liver that may have caused you problems in the future, he found you a perfect liver. Yep. After that. So,
a perfect liver, and this person that died for me, and I said it's personal for me. Okay, it is personal for me. But it's personal for everyone here that, like you said, Andy, that God died, Jesus died for us all. Mm-hmm. Jesus died for us all. And it's so easy to get salvation is to believe in Jesus Christ and have these people praying for you, because prayer works. It does. I'll tell you one little story. I know y'all want me to hush, but
no, not a bit.
I'll tell you a story. This is a pretty amazing story. I had been back for a little bit, and I'd made it back to work. And actually, my wife, she lugged a wheelchair in and out the car at every dialysis treatment. She toted this wheelchair, and she ain't a big girl. She throw that thing up in there, and we were off. And then I graduated from a wheelchair to a walker to a cane. I backed. I've run a 5K now, and this, that, and the other. So
you've run another 5K since.
Absolutely.
Oh my!
That's
wow.
That's a testament right there.
Yeah. So that's a testament to UAB. And look here. I'm a product of UAB, but I'm a product of Jesus Christ. Yeah. I work for Jesus Christ. I'm employed by the Kellys. I work for Jesus Christ. UAB has me to where I am, but Jesus Christ put everything together.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Okay? And all these people that come through this story, he put them together. All these prayers that I'm telling you about. So I was back at work. I was walking to the courthouse one day. I needed to go up there and do some business. And 3 elderly ladies come walking out of the courthouse. And they said, "Oh my gosh, Scotty B. Scott, hey!" And they were, "Oh hey, it's so nice to see you." And I'm like, "Oh, it's wonderful to see you guys. I'm glad to be seen. That's what I say, everybody. I'm proud to be seen. And they said, no, baby, you don't understand. I said, yes, ma'am, I understand. It's a miracle that I'm standing here. She said, no, baby. She went to crying. She said, no, baby, you
Give me that over there. I'm getting bad.
She said, no, baby, you don't know how many times in my life I've prayed for something.
You'll wait for a blessing fixing to come.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She said, you don't know how many times in my life I've prayed for something. And I've prayed a lot in my life. She said, baby, but now I'm looking at an answered prayer. I've never had a prayer answered.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That one got me too.
I'll tell y'all a story too. I give this testimony. Preachers tell me to give it every time I can give it. And I've given several churches, a lot of men's suppers and dinners and breakfasts and everything. I think I've been across the denominations, except I hadn't been in a Catholic church. But I mean, nothing against that. I just haven't been asked because I've promised Jesus that I'd give this testimony wherever He wants me to give it.
Right.
Here a few months ago, getting ready for work, my wife was sick. She said, she didn't feel good. And I said, she said, go to the doctor, see what was wrong. And, now that I don't have an immune system anymore. So we kind of watch out for sick people, So she's going to go to the doctor, and she calls me about 2 o'clock that day. And I had just stopped at Publix on 84 there in Dothan and got me some Mountain Dews and everything, put in my cooler. And I just left, and she called me. She said, well, I have strep throat. I said, I'm sorry. She said, but when you come home, will you get me some of those yellow Oreo cookies? And, the Oreo cookies, but they have the yellow outside.
Right.
And
I would never eat one, but I'm a chocolate kind of guy. But I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and I said, sure, baby. So I'd left Publix, and I told myself right then, I said, you need to turn around and go back. Well, traffic on 84 is not good at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I said, I just want to get back to Henry County, and I need to get back to the guys we're working. And I'll pick them up on my way home. Well, that afternoon, we went and helped somebody cut some corn. We worked till about 7:30 that night. And I stopped up here at the IGA, no yellow Oreos. I go to the Family Dollar, no yellow Oreos. And it's 8 o'clock now. My wife calls, and she says, I'm going to bed. And I said, well, I'm getting your Oreo cookies. I'll be there in a little bit. And she said, no, I don't want those cookies no more. I'm going on to bed. And I said, look, I should have picked them up already. If I have to go back to Dothan, I'm getting those cookies. And she said, I don't want them no more. I said, you reckon Dollar General in town has them? She said, yeah, sure, Dollar General, they'll have them. Check there and come on home. I pulled in Dollar General, and there was several folks inside. And I go in there, and they had double stuffed yellow cookies. I mean, I done hit the jackpot, And so I get 2 packages of them. I have 2 packages. I'm going up there, and I'm sitting there, and there's this big guy, mammoth of a man right there, and he's sitting there, and he is super nice to checking everybody out. He talks to the lady in front, and there's another one in front of me, and she's getting some dog food. She said, the dog's out of food. We got to get some food. And I get there, and he looks, and he stops, and he says, I have to hear your testimony. And I said, sir? He said, my wife works up there at the marathon. She's told me I have to hear your testimony. I said, well, I'll give it anywhere. He said, well, come back and give it. I said, I'll give it anywhere, anytime. And there's a line of people behind me now at the Dollar General this night. And
we about to have church in the Dollar General.
Does it matter? But there's a black lady back there, and she said, tell it, like that, So I start giving a small portion of how I was on hospice, and I'm supposed to be dead. I'm not supposed to be here, and somebody died and give up their liver so I could be here right now to tell you guys that somebody died for me and Jesus Christ died for all of you. And when I walked out of the Dollar General at 8:30 that night, that man was, yeah, he was high five and singing hallelujah. And the two black ladies in the back, they ended up, there was 8 people listening to it, and 2 black ladies in the back were singing.
Like I said, y'all had church in Dollar General.
Yeah.
God made that happen. There was a reason I didn't go back to Publix. There's a reason I bet if I went back the next day, those stores had Oreo cookies.
Yeah.
You know?
We don't always understand it. We don't always understand the why or the how, but God has a purpose for every single child of His. And sometimes it comes on early in your life. Sometimes it comes on later in your life. Sometimes you may have multiple purposes that He uses people for. But you being sick, there's no telling how many souls that the Lord has reaped from your story. Absolutely. Nothing to do with you. Nothing to do with any of your ability, your knowledge, your skill, your wisdom, anything, but just what God did through you. Through an unfortunate situation for you, turns out to be a fortunate situation for a lot of other people, though.
A lot of fortune.
We were supposed to do this last week, and you had to be out of town.
I was gone, yeah.
And so we decided, I called you and, hey, can we push to next week? You remember what you said to me?
I told you that God has a reason for us doing it next week. God's going to have the people there that He wants to be there. There's somebody's
listening right now. Well, not right now, but somebody will hear this the way that it's being done this week. Right. The way that God did it, somebody's going to hear this that way, and that's going to touch somebody.
It's going to touch somebody. And I'm living, if you see me walking in public, you see me anywhere, you just look at me and know that prayer works. Prayer works. And if you want somebody to pray for you, I'll pray for you right now.
I have so many questions right now.
And the thing about it too is your purpose out of this may have strengthened somebody's prayer life that needed to strengthen their prayer life too. Yeah. And just like the lady you saw, she said that, and she might have been a little wrong on that. She said that she'd never had a prayer answered. God may have answered the prayers, but it just wasn't in the way that she thought it needed to be answered or she wanted it to be answered. Right. But then for her to be able to say, I've actually seen my prayers work because you're walking around, you're alive now. And that's a testimony for her to tell somebody else also.
Yeah.
I have questions. I have questions. So I want to go back, and I don't want to hold us too long, but this is good. I want to go back to what I asked earlier. And obviously, maybe they never even told you. Maybe they never gave you a definitive answer. What do you think caused all the organ failure that you had? That's question number one.
He did say at one time, Dothan never said, they never admitted or said anything, but he said, Dr. Cannon said it's cirrhosis of the liver. I had a hard liver and it was cirrhosis. Do I believe it was drinking? Yeah, I drank. I drank a lot of beer. And I drank, I couldn't handle whiskey. I'd get mean on whiskey, But I used to drink a lot of beer. And do I regret it now? Yeah, I regret every one of them right now. And I've quit several times in my life, but just to start back,
So would you say that you had that, I don't want to call it a party lifestyle, but your lifestyle, people looked at that as, okay, that's how they knew you? They knew you as Scotty B.
You introduced me in the very beginning, and you said, hey, this is Scotty B. And he's known on Henry and Houston County. And I started to stop you then and say, hold on a minute. I have a lot of reputations. It just depends on which one.
Where you are.
Which one beat me to where I am.
Yeah. Right. Right.
So, don't we all? Let's admit it. Are we working for Christ? No, we're not being the servants that He wants us to be. There's a lot of people going to be disappointed when this is all over with, and I'm telling you that Jesus Christ wants you to start living for Him and live for Him now, and He wants you to pray. He wants you to talk. He wants you to work for others. You have to be His servant. That's my full belief. Yeah.
The Lord wants us to have an intimate relationship with Him, a personal relationship. It's not just something that, and some religions are so impersonal. I grew up in a Baptist church where it was really personal. You know, we had hellfire and brimstone preachers, you know, that loved everybody in the church. But you have some religions that are just so impersonal, everything's structured, turn to prayer number so-and-so. And I've never been one. I cannot, I'm not going to say I can't stand it, because I'm not saying some are not right or whatever, but I've never read a prayer myself.
Right.
You know, I like to hear a prayer come from the heart.
That's where it needs to come from.
You know, and not some prayer that you read. If you're reading a prayer that, you know, is a psalm that David wrote in the Bible, so that's one thing. But but a prayer should come from the heart, and it should be personal, just like it's just, you know, me and you sitting here talking, is you know, us and the Lord sitting here talking.
I think Brother Jose probably, I believe it was him. I know it was a preacher told me a long time ago. I said, well, how do you pray, you know? How do you pray? And it was explained to me at an early age that you need to pretend like you're a 3-year-old little boy again talking to your daddy. Mm-hmm. And you talk to your daddy at 3 years of age, you bring anything up and anything out. Mm-hmm. And you need to talk, and you need to have the faith of a child. A child's faith is so astounding as far as what we get manipulated throughout our lifetime.
A child at that age doesn't know any better. They'll just give you every bit of their faith, because they've never had any outside influences that would direct them in any other direction. You know, but you know, prayer is just a conversation with God, and it's not only a monologue, but it's a dialogue. If you can talk to Him, and if you'll listen, He'll talk back to you in certain ways too.
Yeah.
So going back to what I asked, the reason I asked that is I'm going to try to put this in perspective so maybe it's understood. Yes, you had a lifestyle that maybe some people would look at, well, yeah, Scott went to church, but he wasn't living that lifestyle. Personally, I think that some of your strongest testimonies, some of the most powerful stories out there, are from people that get that transformation, and they can see the power of what God can do and in changing lives. And that's what it sounds like happened here.
From wayward souls.
Yeah, from wayward souls.
Yeah, that's what, you know, like us.
Like me, like Andy, like Thomas, you know.
Absolutely. Go back to the reference. So I said, me and those boys at 13 years of age at Smyrna Church, sitting on the back row, we had it figured out.
Right.
We could party Friday night. We could party Saturday night. We could even party Sunday night if we wanted to. But Sunday morning, as long as we were there asking for forgiveness of our sins.
You know, let me go even, you know, more than that. My whole time up until recently, you know, last few years, I always had the mindset of, I ain't worried about it. You know, I'm not worried about it. I'll take care of it before I die. Even though I was in a profession where that death could come instantly, any minute.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to do what I do, and when I get ready, I'll go back to God.
Right.
But we don't know when that's going to be.
No.
Yeah.
You know, and that's such an ignorant, idiotic mindset for me to have. But let me get to my other question real quick.
Let me answer your questions right there. Okay. I'm going to give you 2 references. All right. Take the person, whoever they are, that died so I can be here. You think when they were driving down that? You think when they were driving down that interstate, they were prepared to go meet Jesus?
I want to believe they were.
Yeah. Well, I think they were,
I hope they were.
Yeah. But if you were driving and you know, and you had the mindset that you had, you'd take care of it when you died. You know, what if that was you driving?
That's a deep thought, man. That's a scary thought.
You have to be prepared every minute. It's a process. Yeah. Okay, and it's a process. And like you said, there's a purpose and a process to it, and you have to believe in it. You have to trust the process. But 2, you have to be committed to the process. 3, you have to be, you know, you have to stay in the process. I'm missing the word that I'm looking for, but you have to be dedicated to the process.
I want to believe
it's like Clayton talked about sanctification. You're in a constant state of sanctification as a Christian, where you're trying to do better. Because you know, people say, well, I'll just ask for forgiveness for this and all. But if it's just repeated sin over and over and over again, then there's no repentance.
Yeah,
because repentance means that you're repent of that sin, and that you're actually remorseful. There's got to be some remorse, you know.
Yeah.
And we've all repeated sins. I'm not saying that, you know, you're going to hell because you've repeated some sins and all, but at some point there's got to be a true repentance, and there's got to be, you know, true sorrow for that sin, and an apology to God for that sin, and asking Him to help you, prayer to help you not commit that sin again.
And you have to keep working on it all the time.
Yeah, and it's the only way you're going
It's
to
a
grow in your
process.
relationship with Christ is if you are, well, and really you're only in a true relationship if you're being changed.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the matter of fact. And in sports, there's this thing, and you'll probably understand this, Scott. Well, not that Andy and Eric wouldn't, but more so because you do run 5Ks and things like that. But in sports, there's this thing where when you start to take off, there's this thing called a false start, where your foot goes backward. If you're not trained properly, your foot will go backward and then you start. Where you're trained in sports that your foot needs to stay right where it's at, planted, and you push off right where you are. But a lot of kids, they'll start where they are, take one foot and put it back, and then go. And you go off, you start faster if you just start right where you are. And that's the thing of like sanctification is those kids that do that false start, those people that do that false start, they think they're going forward, but they're really staying right where they are.
That's right.
They think that they're getting that momentum forward. And it's the same thing with our sin is, you know, if we think we're in a relationship with Christ and we're still sinning, it's a false start. Like it's a false thought. It's it's not true. You know, you're really staying right where you are. You're not moving forward in a relationship with Christ because you're pursuing sin, not Christ. You know what I mean? And so that's that whole thing for sure. You got to make sure that you're seeking after that.
Two things that I want to say there. You need to build a sermon around that right there.
Yeah.
That was good.
They just can't.
That was really good.
Literally just
you
thought of
need
that.
to
That
build
was-
a sermon around that. That was good. That's a good message. And the other thing on that, and I'm going to ask one more question because I don't want to type everything, but I want to believe out of your story that person that was driving down the road that had that wreck. Because we all, you know, you look at it, oh, well, there was another tragedy so that you could live. I don't see it as a tragedy. This life is temporary.
Right.
You know, I'm going to tell everybody that this life, I don't want to say doesn't matter. This life is temporary.
That person has departed earth, and I will meet that person one day.
I want to believe that person was a saved soul, and God used that person to get you better so that you can continue to save, well, not you save more people, but you be the conduit that brings people to Jesus Christ. And that's what I can't help but believe that, because that's how I think God works. We don't understand how God works. We don't understand why things happen the way they happen, but there's a plan out there that we don't need to understand.
What did he say to Jacob or whatever? You know, who are you to question me?
Yeah.
You know,
Exactly.
you know what the biggest sin would be in this situation? It would be for Scott not
Amen.
to
100%.
use the purpose that
Yeah.
God's given him.
Yeah.
You know,
Amen.
through all this, all the suffering that he went through, all the suffering his family went through as they thought he was going to die, and everything should never be for naught. And I think that would be the biggest sin. It would have been if he would just said, "Hey, I'm better now, and go back to doing whatever I want to do." You know, instead of being a vessel for Christ that he has really become. And just the story, and like you said, you just do not know the impact that you're having, or that God's having through you, and it may not even be in this generation. You may affect somebody that's a better person, that's a Christian, and it may be one or two generations down the road before that's really realized in their family or their group of friends or whatever too. And we never know, and we're not supposed to know. We'll know one day. Yep. We'll be enlightened. We'll know. Scott will know every person that God has touched through his testimony and through his story one day.
And it sounds
that will be a huge.
It sounds like you're going to have a huge assembly in front of you when you get there.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
So number 2. This is the last question.
Let me. I want
Hurry! I got to get this question out. No. Go ahead.
Okay, but let me just say this on what you said. To finish your last question, I said I had 2 parts. One was the guy that passed away. The other one is our friend, Arnie Forrest. Arnie was knelt at the end of my bed, okay? I'm going to tell the story. I was laying in that bed. I could not move. Now, after the surgery at UAB, I weighed 115 pounds.
There you go.
Okay? So Arnie was nailed at the end of this bed in the medical center right there, and Jared said, Jared asked him on his way down there, he said, "You're going to see Scott?" He said, He said, yeah, I'm going to go by and see him. I'm going to then get my wife. And Jared said, well, golly, Jared, Arnie, you're going to do the right thing, you know? And Arnie Arnie came and he knelt at the foot of my bed with my family there. We all held hands, and he prayed and wanted to know if we were going to heaven. And I asked him to pray for us. He prayed before he left. I was laying there urinating on myself. Well, I had no bodily control on anything, and he's sitting there praying for us to go to heaven. Unfortunate circumstances is that I'm here, okay? I'm here now, okay? The person that died for me has missed 3 Christmases with their family, and I've had 3 Christmases. Arnie Forrester and his family had an awful wreck on New Year's Day later that year, and he passed and went on. He departed earth, went on to be on to heaven too. Yeah. Laying in that bed right there, Arnie was supposed to be here, and I was supposed to be the one checking out. And it's direct opposite.
Right. Yeah.
God's got a purpose for you, Scott.
Yep.
So,
number 2.
God had a purpose for him.
He's got a purpose.
Arnie.
He's got a purpose for all of us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
We had a guest on a previous episode we did. Her name was I almost gave her last name.
Oh yeah.
We couldn't use her entire name, but her name was Amira. She was
Muslim.
She was Muslim, and she was from northern Iraq. And she had an experience, a really powerful experience, where we all believe on this show, and she believes, and everybody that hears her story believes that she actually encountered and was face to face with Jesus Christ in the desert. Okay,
you need to go listen to that one.
Yeah, man.
That one was really, really strong.
Yeah, powerful.
This one is equally as strong. But I say all that because I want to ask you a question. When you had this person placing their hands over your stomach, who do you think that was?
Okay, so I get this question from people in the public all the time. They said, "Do you think you saw Jesus?" And I like to think I saw Jesus, but you also read in the Bible, no one's seen God and lived. Right. So I believe I seen an angel working for Jesus. And all. It may not have been Jesus, but it'd been like me and Eric. They were real close first cousins. Yeah. Something like that. That they was somebody definitely came there. Do I believe my grandmother was there? Yes, I believe my grandmother's there in heaven, and she's working as an angel also. That's my belief.
Whatever it was, it was supernatural.
Yeah,
no doubt.
No doubt.
If it was supposed to happen, it could have happened at any time. Why did it happen then?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And why did that doctor go back and put me back on the hospital care?
After that. Yeah.
Why did Preston lean up there?
Yeah.
Why did my wife say no, not morphine? Why did John Pitcher drag me through Iron Man? All of these are preparations for this point that we're sitting here right now. But I want to take nothing. Don't put nothing on me. Put everything on Jesus Christ. And I'm telling you, prayer works, and there is a God. I'm telling you.
And you're not it.
No, I'm not it. I tried to be it for myself for a long time, but I'm not it. Yeah.
We all did.
Yeah.
Wow.
My questions are done. That's what I wanted to.
That's a truly powerful testimony there, and one that needs to be told. And you're doing what God has led you to do every single time you get a chance. It doesn't matter if it's at a Dollar General store or where, but wherever you're led to give your testimony and talk about your experience with God and the miracle that was manifested in your life and your willingness to be a vessel for Him.
Yeah.
You're doing it.
Incredible.
Yeah. If you fall dead tomorrow, you've done what you were supposed to do.
My wife says, "Oh, you're gonna live forever now." And I said, "No, God's gonna call me home." She said, "Well, when do you think you're going to die?"
Yeah.
I said, "Baby, I don't know. I may be giving this testimony to the president one day." I said, "But it may be one word I say to one person."
Yeah.
I'm back here for a reason. And it may be one little bitty word, and it may be that person walking somewhere and say, have a good day. You look great today.
Yeah.
God bless you. It may be one little thing I say to somebody, and when that somebody gets that something, then I'm going home.
Yeah.
It's not for us to
That's
determine.
good stuff.
Well, y'all got anything else?
No. I just urge everybody to, all Christians need to pray and pray that God would find them to be a worthy vessel, and do the best that you can every day to make yourself a worthy vessel, that God can use you to touch somebody else's life, because you never know who you're going to encounter out here. You just never know. If you leave your house and you go out into the public anywhere, you never know who that you're going to encounter and what effect that you may have on them, or God may have on them through you as a vessel. And it may be something very, very small, and you may never, ever know it until you get to heaven. You may never know it, but you've got to be prepared to do what it is that God wants you to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Arnie Forrester, you're talking about what he did. For a lot of people, that's an uncomfortable question to ask somebody.
Yeah.
You know, you just walk into somebody's room, no matter how well you know somebody. That's an uncomfortable.
We were friends.
question to
We
ask.
were friends, but we weren't best friends.
Right, yeah.
You know,
I mean, for him to walk in there and ask you, you know, basically, you know, you're on your deathbed. If you die today, do you know Jesus Christ, and you know for a fact that you're going to heaven?
that's what he is.
You know, and that's that's what we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
That's what we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good stuff.
It is.
That's good stuff.
It's hard to do the right thing, guys. I mean, the devil makes it easy to do the easy stuff.
Or not to do anything at all.
Yeah.
That's the easiest, is not do anything
Don't
at all.
do anything.
whatsoever.
You know, I have 50 years of previous experience, so the devil makes it real easy to be a cool guy. You know, I mean,
You said something earlier, and I'll try to wrap up with this, but you said something earlier. Salvation's the easiest thing you can ever get. At the same time, it's one of the hardest things you can ever get.
Yeah.
We let our desires and our own minds be our biggest
That's right.
enemy. When all we really got to do is
Give it up.
give it up. That's the best way to say it, man. Give it up.
Yep.
And accept who Jesus is and have that relationship with him. And it can't get any easier.
All you
than
got to do
that.
is surrender. Just surrender. Throw your hands up and say, I'm not going to do this anymore. What I've been doing, I'm just going to surrender.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's by grace.
Yeah.
I'm here by the grace of God. Okay. God has established grace for each and every person to accept him as Savior and to believe in him. All you have to do, Romans 8:28, okay? And also, you believe in him through grace. He has allowed it. And people say, well, what does grace actually mean? Well, grace is he has paid you something. He has given you something other that you cannot repay him for, that you'll never be able to pay back.
Yeah. He's serving your sentence. He's paying your fine for the crimes that you committed.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's in cop terms. Cop terms.
I understood it.
Make it easy for some of these knucklehead
yeah.
cops to understand.
Like me.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell y'all one story. Y'all talk about the cops, whatever. And we really need to go. But okay, so I was stopped by Trooper Peak a long time ago.
Ricky Peak.
That's the name I hadn't heard in a long time.
Well, I just know the last name.
Way back. That's been way back.
Way
Ricky
back.
Peak, yeah.
Yeah,
He
so
retired now.
Yeah, and anyway, DUI. They said I was drinking, and I had been. I was good at it, but I went home and went to bed, and I'd woke up about an hour and a half later, and I was going to ride and see some folks, whatever. And anyway, I left the house, and Dad always said, you know, once you get home, don't never leave. And also, they went and carried me into the jail, and Joe Fred up here at the Henry County Hilton, they threw me in there, and he did put me in a room by myself, and I laid down on this concrete bed and scratched from my foot all the way around to the top, scratched in that concrete up there. It says, I love Jesus. I love Jesus.
You scratched that in there?
No,
Oh.
It was in there.
was
I just
already
remember
there.
it was in there. All over that prison, scratched in them concrete blocks or jail. I love Jesus. And well, the next morning, the guy from Newville, he threw me in there with general population. And there was a group of boys over here trying to make them some tea in the hot water. And there was a group over here all reading the Bible. And my first thought, You know, if they had all done this on the outside,
Yeah.
they wouldn't have never been on the inside.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's amazing what God does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
That is really good stuff. That is one of the best stories I've heard in I can't remember how long.
Yeah, that
And
was good.
I'm thankful that you came on here.
Yeah.
I hope a lot of people share this episode and a lot of people hear this.
Yeah, definitely.
Very
Definitely.
very powerful.
As Andy always says, if we can touch one person, we did our job.
That's it.
You know, this isn't for. While it blesses me, I've been. You know, we haven't been putting out as many lately. We've had a lot of stuff going on. Everybody's been busy. But man, this one today has reinforced why God gave this to us. Because man, this is a blessing to me, and I hope that it's a blessing to everybody out there. So thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for watching. Please continue to watch. Please continue to support us. We can't keep doing this unless you do. YouTube, Apple, Spotify. Are you still putting stuff on Spotify or not? Because I'm going to stop saying it if you are.
No, I am.
Okay, all right.
I got to get it on there.
Get us on Spotify. Get us on Apple. Get us anywhere you can watch podcasts. YouTube's the best place to get it.
Yeah.
And share it on your social media or send it to your friends. Send it to somebody that you think would receive a blessing from one of these episodes, especially one of these like these today, like Scottish Story.
Yeah, and listen,
share
you don't
it.
even have to sit down and watch it. If you're just driving down the road, man, do what I do on a lot of
Yeah.
things. Stick your ear pods in, turn it on, listen, man, it will bless you. These stories that are coming out from all the people that we have on here, they're strong, and it just reinforces that God's still with you.
Yeah.
God is still
he's
with
here.
you. Jesus is alive right now.
He's alive.
He will be the path to your salvation. It doesn't mean life's going to be easy, but it's going to be worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is not our final destination, folks. It's an eternity with Him.
Yeah. It's like a thing I saw a while back. And, you know, you always hear these people talking about live your best life now, blah, 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 all the time, all this prosperity gospel kind of stuff and all. But it's like I said, if you're not a Christian, this is your best life now. This is the best life
That's all-
that you will ever know.
Exactly.
Oh,
Yeah.
how did I hear it yesterday?
If you are a Christian,
Yeah,
then
you're saying it.
this is not your best life now.
Yeah.
That's right.
But your best life is yet to come, and it is eternal, unlike
Yeah.
the life that we have here on earth.
If you're not a Christian, this is the closest you'll ever get to heaven. And if
right.
you are a Christian, this is the closest you'll ever get to hell.
Hell, right?
Yeah, that's
exactly.
how I heard it.
That's
Yeah,
good.
this same
I like
thing.
it.
Yeah.
It's good.
Hey, listen, we appreciate you being with us. What's our new sponsor again?
Cutthroatclub.com/The Shepherd. SHEPHERD.
Check them out. Pick up their gear. I'm going to be switching to them 100% because I don't like the ones I'm using now. Hey, man, just like I said, support us. We love you. And you guys got anything else?
No?
All right.
Good to go.
Good.
Start
Well, have a good one.
start living for the next life.
There you
Amen.
go.
Right.